Go ahead and come to the front of your mat. Reach into your pinky toe, your big toe, and your heels. Make sure your weight is centered. Raise your arms over your head. Exhale, fold forward, touch the mat, bend your knees if you need to. Halfway up, look up to your fingertips, and then fold forward. Step your right foot back into a lunge. And then exhale your left foot into downward facing dog. Come forward into plank. Bring your knees to the mat, lower all the way down. Come into cobra pose. Come through your knees into downward facing dog. Bring your right foot forward into a lunge. Bring your left foot forward to meet your right and fold forward. Come halfway up to your fingertips. Fold forward. And inhale your arms over your head. Exhale, fold forward. And halfway up to your fingertips, look up. Exhale, fold forward. Step your left foot back into a lunge. Come back to downward facing dog. Come forward into plank. Bring your knees to the mat, lower down. Cobra pose. Come into bent knees into downward facing dog. Step your left foot forward into a lunge. Step your right foot forward. Halfway up, look up. And fold forward. Inhale all the way up, arms up overhead. And hands to prayer. Now the next video is if you need a bit more modifications, grab a chair. Inhale, arms up. Exhale, fold forward, hands to the back of the chair. Inhale, arms up. Hands once again to the back of the chair. And then if you don't need so much modification, you can use the front of the chair, the base of the chair where you sit. So bring your arms up and then fold forward using the base. This makes even downward dog accessible to people that have a tough time with downward dog. That's a pose that you move into. Step your right foot back into a lunge. And then step into downward dog if that's accessible. Bring your knees to the mat. Bring hands back to the chair. Help your foot forward. And then arms up overhead. Fold forward using the base of the chair. Stepping your left foot back. Kind of walk your hands down to the mat. Then step back into downward facing dog. Bring the knees to the mat. Let the chair help you up. Bring your left foot forward. And then come forward. Arms up overhead. And then bring your hands to prayer. Arms up overhead. Bring your hands to your thighs. This is just another example of a modification. Deeply bend your knees here to get your hands on the mat. And step your right foot back and your left foot back, downward facing dog. So now if you have intense areas where you have flexibility issues, so I'm just moving through this, coming back into downward dog. And this is also an option to start learning how to come from the back of the mat to the front of the mat. Get that foot up there any way you need to do it. Help it up with the ankle. This is how I did this for the first several months. I was stronger than I was flexible. So once again, inhale, arms up. You can follow along with me here. Exhale, fold forward, hands to the thighs. And then halfway up, look up. Fold forward, deep bend in the knees here, hands to the mat. Step your left foot back. And usually this is not too bad of a transition to downward dog. Come into plank. Lower down. Come up cobra pose. Come through bent knees back to downward facing dog. But then, getting that foot up to the front of the mat, so come to your knees. Start the progression, help that foot up there. Grab the ankle, put it up there. Eventually, you will get the flexibility. Then step that right foot forward. Walk up your legs if the lower back hurts. Mine does. Arms up overhead. Hands to prayer. So there are modifications for every possibility. I promise you that. Now, I wanted to come into, we're going to do a bit of, not so much yoga, but just strengthening exercises. This is what's called a squat, so you can see from the side. The main thing here is not to let your knees go over your toes. Sit back like you're sitting in a chair. Doesn't need to be deep. I put my arms out there for balance, for counterbalance. And just sit down. So, if this is not something that's accessible to you immediately, I used a chair when I got hurt in my lower back. Arms out, feet flat on the ground, sit down in the chair, push through your heels, sit up. And you can see me here adjusting my feet to make sure I'm getting the maximum in my, in my bottom and my legs. Then, if you don't need all that, use the back of the chair and squat. And this is mainly for balance. Make sure the weight stays in your heels. So now a lunge is also a really amazing exercise. So just step your right foot back. Just lunge straight down. You can see my center of gravity is right over. Step the other leg back. Lunge straight down. And this takes some flexibility and strength too. You're going to fire up your inner thighs, outer glutes. So now if this is not accessible, use the back of the chair once again. Step that foot back. Watch if the top body is able to be straight up and down. So if you lack flexibility, you may want to be kind of forward a little bit, but that is something that we will also work on. So just up and down, super slow here. I use everything around me as props. Everything is fair game in my home. Anything that's going to give me stability and allow me to learn the exercise. So this is more of just an alignment cue. This is called Warrior 1. Step your right foot back. Left leg is bent. Thigh eventually parallel. Arms up overhead. This is a really, really, really nice pose. And then step your left leg back. Right leg is bent deeply. Eventually you learn to square the hips. You gain the flexibility to square the hips to the front of the room. Arms up overhead. A fundamental pose in yoga, and yet one of the hardest ones if done properly. And so it's a great work in progress. You can just follow along with me here. Then Warrior 2, you want to square your hips to the side. So see how I'm facing you. Hips completely square. And then bend your right leg. I push my knee back a little bit. Arms reaching out. Right at shoulder height. And just hold this. It's like you're pulling the mat together with the energy of your legs. You get super strong when you hold just these static poses like this, and then switch over to the other side. Make sure your foot is out at a 90-degree angle, the leg that's going to be bent. So in this case, my left leg. So make sure your foot's not, turned in a little bit. Knees tracking out over the second and third toe. Look out over your left middle finger. And like you're pulling the mat together. These poses are wonderful to learn. Wonderful to learn strength and alignment and gain some flexibility. So arms up, shoulder height. This is a pose called triangle pose. Reach forward. You can bring your hand down just right to your knee, right below your shin. This is a pose that kind of hurts my back, so I go into it very, very slowly. Bring your top body back so you look like you could be in between two panes of glass. Switch to the other side. Once again, foot out at a 90-degree angle. Arms up, reach forward, hands down to your shin, eventually maybe the mat. Reaching up in either direction. You can see I go into this pose extremely slow, especially on this side. Really strong in the tummy here. And come up. So one of the exercises that I do constantly, I have my students do straight arm plank. Look like, you super straight here, and then a forearm plank. You learn to hold 3 forearm planks a day for 30 seconds. Your core will get strong. Your bottom will get strong. Your thighs will get strong. This is an exercise that is timeless. And it's amazing. And then a side plank, you can see here's some modifications. Bottom leg down. And this allows you to get stronger. Or if you're a little bit stronger, you can stagger your feet and you have some more balance. Strength up one whole side of the body there. And then eventually both feet stacking on top of one another. Reaching that arm to the sky. Side plank. Brilliant exercise for the whole side body, the obliques. You get super strong, gain a lot of balance in this pose. Roll over to the other side. So all these modifications are available to you. And one of my very favorite exercises, timeless as well, just like a plank, push-ups. I started on my kitchen counter, but since we're out in Henry Clay's home, I did it on a park bench, which is totally accessible here. So go ahead, bring your hands, apart, a little bit wider than your chest. Keep your body super straight. You saw me stick my butt out. Don't do that. You saw me, collapse in the center there. Don't do that. You can even go a tiny little bit and then bring your arms in, elbows straight back for a tricep push-up, which is a move in yoga called chaturanga. It's a transitional pose. So you can learn to do push-ups. And these push-ups right here, they give you an intense workout. And then later on, we'll get closer to the floor. So a little bit closer. Hands wide, normal push-up. And come down right in the center of your chest, kind of like right below, your boobs. Don't stick your butt out and don't collapse in the center like the worm. Just go straight down. Keep your body straight. Like if I were to put a broom handle up by you, you'd be super straight. Really slow and controlled. Or just a tiny bit until you can go all the way down. This is a crawl, walk, and run issue. Push-ups are hard. Stay with it. Like, remember what I said. Give me 90 days. We got this. This is a lifestyle change, not a quick go of it. So these are modifications. I hope you figure out what works for you. If not, please shoot me an email. Suzie at the number 4 everhealthyu.com. Thanks a bunch. Namaste.